So, in our lesson this morning, we're going to kind of spin that spice rack that we've been talking about this month about emotions, and we're going to stop on that sweet stuff, happiness and all of its cousins: contentment, joy, calm, tranquility, gratification, satisfaction, well being, and gratitude. All of the things that are really close to something you would call happiness. And in promoting this lesson on social media, I don't know if you see what I post from time to time. I ask this question: if you were accused of being happy, would there be enough evidence to convict you? Would your family, friends, and neighbor and coworkers testify on your behalf? Would they say, "Yes, yes, Laine is very happy. I see it all the time"? Would they say that for you? In our exploration of the world of our emotions, we would be remiss if we were to skip talking about the most coveted of all emotions, happiness. So you may not know this, but I am a certified happiness coach. Truly, I was trained in New York City 11 years ago by the spiritual teacher and author Robert Holden. And we did a book study on this book about, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe a year ago or something. Great book. If happiness is your like thing, this is a really, really great book to explore. And it's all totally in line with Science of Mind. It's really cool. Robert Holden's a great author. And the training was this amazing oopsie. It's okay. It's okay. Live, but not quite live. Thank you for a moment of laughter. Any rate, this training was an amazing experience of basically relearning everything I had just finished up taking in practitioner studies. I went to New York and had this course in happiness, and I was like just back in class again, because we were trained up there to see that happiness is not found outside of ourselves, but rather inside of ourselves, and that truth comes in many packages and from many teachers, but it's basically still truth. So I want to share a story that was written centuries ago. It's found in the Upanishads, which is the ancient Hindu sacred scripture, and it's the story of two birds, and I want to share it. And it says, two birds, inseparable companions, perched on the same tree. One eats fruit, and the other looks on. The first bird is our individual self, feeding on the pleasures and pains of this world. The other is the universal self, silently witnessing all. So, here in spirituality, we talk a lot about these two aspects of ourselves, don't we? Much like these two birds. We come to spirituality because we are seeking a life that is guided by the second bird, by that universal self. The universal self that the Hindu teaching speaks of is that part of us within us that is connected to Source, our soul, our highest self, or whatever you call that part of you that knows that you know that you know. That part, that second bird. The individual self, or the first bird, is our ego, our human self. And if we look at the word ego, we can use those three letters to remind ourselves of what our human self does. And one acronym for ego is edging God out, and another is everything good outside, out there. And we all have that part of us. That's the part of us that pushes happiness into the future. It says, I'll be happy when I lose 20 pounds or get that promotion or my kids straightens themselves out or I sell my house and move to Tahiti, or when my divorce comes through, when this law passes, when the world is peaceful, when whatever that elusive thing that I desire finally comes to me. In other words, my happiness is dependent upon something out there being just the way I like it to be, everything good outside. It's the part of us that psychologists call many different names: our conditioned self, our false self, our adapted self, our persona, all those different words. And most people allow that part of themselves to drive the car of their lives the whole drive. going down any and all roads that will possibly lead to happiness and security. You know, when we were young children, most of us were free of the need to edge out our happiness. We knew there was some fun in whatever moment, somewhere, and we were going to find it. You know, if the task was raking leaves, we would soon be jumping in the middle of them and having fun, screeching. You know, if the church service was boring, what were we doing as kids? We were making faces with our friends and giggling until the adults stopped us. There was some fun in there. And of course, if we were given some free time, we knew how to make the most of it, right? Our young selves knew that. Ernest Holmes says we should rediscover the youthful spirit of that childlike joy which gave to us the energy, happiness, security, and faith we had as children. Every spiritual teaching, every religion, every psychologist reminds us that unless we can shift our identity to our higher self, our unconditioned self, we will always be searching and seeking and thirsty for happiness. Unless we can find our way back to that unconditional self, our training will keep us bound by expectation and obligation and duty. It's only when we turn within to connect with our light and wake up to who we really are spiritually that we find that lasting happiness and peace. You know, when I use the word light, what I'm meaning is that part of you, that innate unconditional potential to be happy, to be loving, to be free of fear, and to be creative beyond your greatest imagination. That light is always within you, and you can never lose it, no matter what. You may forget about it, or you can ignore it, but it just remains there just the same, waiting for you to find it again. And many of us have glimpses of that inner light in certain special times, don't we? When we just have this little moment of joy or success or happiness, but we struggle to remember it's there all the time, even when things are hard or we're challenged or things happen in our lives, we're disappointed or we're hurting. We forget that the light is still there. So sometimes we need healers. We need healers around us who can help us remember and see our light, to point us toward our light when we forget where it is. And true healers can see through any appearance of darkness in life and know that our light is still in there shining. And I think we get the wrong teaching in elementary school when we're taught that we have a right by law to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That word pursuit really messed us up because it means to chase it, right? When I think of the word chase, I think of my Thursday mornings. Those of you who don't know, I spend Thursday mornings at Southeastern Guide Dogs playing with puppies. That's what I do on Thursday mornings. And the puppies are always chasing everything. They chase. And it reminds me of another story. A big dog saw a puppy chasing its tail and asked, "Why are you chasing your tail that way?" And the puppy said, "I have studied philosophy and solved the problem of the universe, which no other dog before me has ever solved," the puppy answered. "And I have found out that the best thing for a dog in life is happiness, and that my happiness is in my tail, and that's why I'm chasing it. And when I catch it, I will reach happiness." "Son," the dog said, "in my young days, I was also interested in the questions of the universe, and I also thought that happiness is in my tail, and in the beginning, I was also chasing it. But later, I noticed that wherever I go and whatever I do, my tail was following me the whole time. And then I understood that I don't need to chase it." Happiness is not something you have to chase. Happiness is something you have to recognize and allow. And remember that it's following you the whole time. You don't have to chase it. It simply is not dependent upon circumstances. It is born into you, maybe as your tail, but maybe just something deep inside. But here's another story to illustrate the point. There was a little boy named Billy. who was out on the lake. On this beautiful, lazy summer afternoon, he's just fishing. And after a while, a stranger came by in this suit, and he said, "How are you doing?" And Billy replied, "Being happy, doing nothing." "Catch any fish?" asked the stranger. Billy hadn't stopped to count. "Maybe 10, but I let them all go. So maybe 10 fish." "10 fish? Why, you should have kept them and sold them," said the stranger. "Why?" asked Billy. "Well, you could have made a profit and then invested in a better fishing rod." "Why do I need a better rod?" asked Billy. "Well, with a better rod, you could catch even more fish." "Why would I want more fish?" asked Billy. "Well, more fish equals more profit, and with more profit, you could have your own boat and a refrigerated truck," says the stranger. "But I like it here just being happy doing nothing," said Billy. "Okay, but with a big refrigerated truck, you could make even more profit," said the stranger. "And then what?" Billy asked. "Well, who knows? You could, with enough hard work, you could open your own fish market or a restaurant one day." "And what then?" Billy asked. "Well, by then you could be so rich you could just come fishing here whenever you liked," declared the stranger triumphantly. "Isn't that what I'm already doing?" smiled Billy. What's the moral of the story? Fishing is symbolic for simply being. Billy is your inner higher self, completely relaxed and happy, being, striving for nothing, poised and content in this moment. And what's the stranger? The stranger in the story is your ego, that inner voice that pesters you and tells you that before you can simply be happy, you absolutely must, ought, and should toil and struggle. The moral of the story is that only by being are you truly happy. The ego is trying to make you earn it, while your true self already knows that you are it. So what if things in your life never changed? Could you allow yourself to be happy within right now? Could you accept yourself and your life as perfect in this moment and allow your light to shine right where you are right now? Robert Holden has a funny word for this ego game that we play with ourselves, and I have to pronounce it very carefully. It is called masturbation. Some examples of masturbation are: to be happy, I must be liked by everyone. To be happy, I must always be good and right. To be happy, I must always be in control. To be happy, I must be perfect. To be happy, I must hide my true feelings. To be happy, I must never be vulnerable. To be happy, I must weigh less. To be happy, I must get more. And to be happy, I must have earned it. Get it? So the question is, are you masturbating yourself out of inner happiness? If you really thought about it, you could make your own list of your masturbations, right? That come between you and your contentment. It's a tricky word. So this concept of happiness being within is taught by so many sources of truth. And so I want to share a few of these. So they're going to be on the slides. When the Zen master Po-Chang was asked about seeking for the joy of Buddha, he answered, "It is much like riding an ox in search of an ox." In the 4th century BC, Chinese philosophy said, "The Tao is near, and people seek it far away." The Tao is the word for the balance of life, the natural order of things. An ancient African proverb on happiness states, "Why tell animals living in the water to drink?" 18th century French writer Voltaire said, "Paradise is where I am." The Greek word for joy is kairo, and it means culmination of being and the good mood of the soul. And of course, we've got to do Ernest Holmes. He said, "The ability to control your experiences and have them result in happiness, prosperity, and success lies in your own mind and the way you use it." So all these little pieces of wisdom throughout the ages are saying the same thing. The happiness we seek is within us and in our tail, right? We are what we seek. Our longing for happiness is much like the sun praying for light or the ocean praying for water. You and I are made of God's stuff. We are made of joy. We are made of love. We are praying for more happiness, but it is what we are. This paradox, it's called the Great Cosmic Joke. And they say that the laughing Buddha statues that you see, they say Buddha is laughing because no matter what is happening, he knows he is safe. He knows he is enough, that we are all safe and that we're all enough. He's laughing because he gets the cosmic joke. But if we're going to join him in this laughter, we've got to change our minds about ourselves. Our prayers are not for more happiness, but for Spirit to reveal our joy. Our prayer is not for love and peace, but for God to heal my fear that love is not there, or teach me again to feel peace in my own mind. Our prayer is to actually be aware when we have those connections into our inner light, our inner peace, our inner joy. May I be aware that I am there. You know, Brene Brown, in her book that I highly recommend, Atlas of the Heart, she tells a story of being on a boat with her young daughter Ellen. And it was this kind of special mother-daughter moment where they're out on this little paddle boat in this lake, and it's just beautiful. And all of a sudden, her daughter stopped paddling and just laid her oar across her lap and just sat perfectly still on her seat with her eyes closed. And Brene said her daughter was so lovely in that moment. She just looked at her and just watched her. But when the moment stretched on a little bit too long, her mom's like, Ellen, are you okay, honey? Everything all right? And Ellen said, I'm fine, Mama. I am just making a picture memory because I'm so happy. I can look at this picture memory, Mama, when I'm feeling sad or scared or lonely. I love that. I love that. You know, I used to say in moments of great joy, my heart is taking a picture. It's kind of the same thing. So do you pay attention and allow everything to quiet around you when you're feeling that inner sense of happiness? Do you take a picture memory, or to allow your heart to take a picture of it? Because in the handout that I gave you on the first Sunday of May, I shared the lesson that happiness or joy brings to you. Every emotion brings you a piece of wisdom or a question to ask yourself. And Joy said, this healthy emotion tells you that something or someone needs to be celebrated, appreciated, laughed about, or encouraged. It is an internal state of well-being. That's what joy is. So little Ellen on the boat allowed herself to be really aware and say, this moment needs to be celebrated, remembered, cherished. Your soul is trying to get your attention in your experience of this palpable happiness, saying, hey, celebrate this, appreciate this, laugh about this, encourage this. Basically, be grateful and pay attention to this so that you can draw more of it into yourself. If you can flow this out, your soul is saying, if you can flow this feeling out, this will flow in. In other words, talk about what gives rise to your awareness of happiness. Think about your happiness. Believe that you are a source of joy. And this is a moment where you're allowing it to flow. Remember this so you can experience it over and over by conscious choice. Do you remember the elementary school song? Maybe it's a Sunday school song. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands, right? Stomp your feet, shout hooray. Remember that? You know, even if you don't clap or stomp or yell, let the world know that you're feeling happiness. You're living as your joyful self. If you're happy and you know it, then your life will surely show it. Show it. So if I go back to my original question, which was, if you're accused of being happy, would there be enough evidence to convict you? I'm really asking if you have done your work to reveal the joy that you are. Do you allow your inner peace of mind to reign supreme in your experiences, regardless of the circumstances you face? Do you have picture memories to pull out to remind you of who you really are? Tom Carpenter, he's a longtime teacher of A Course in Miracles, and he asked this question: do you make yourself spontaneously available to your spirit? Do you make yourself spontaneously available to your spirit? See, the spirit within you wants to express itself. The flow of the energy of life running through you doesn't want you to filter it and put conditions on it being allowed to flow. It doesn't know anything of heartbreak or human issues of disappointment. It simply wants to come through you as joy and love and compassion and light. But do you make yourself available for it to spontaneously express through you? Remember, I taught this in Sacred Cup this morning. Remember that the doorway to happiness is what? Gratitude. The doorway to happiness is gratitude. The spiritual practice is to go to sleep each night with a heart of gratitude for everything. Thankful for the lessons of the day, for the people whose path you crossed, for the animals you shared a moment with, for the food you ate, the stories you heard, the lives you touched, for your very breath. Grateful for everything. Sleep in gratitude. Sleep in it, and then practice waking up and making a conscious decision to allow Spirit to flow through you this day. Set an intention to practice, allowing yourself to feel the God self throughout the day. That's the practice. Your true nature is just always waiting there, waiting. Because see, you know what? The human experience, what is it? It includes joy, it includes pain, ups and downs, light and darkness, both sides of the continuum and everything in between. But this perspective provides a sense of balance across that continuum, across the spectrum. Experience all of it and appreciate all of it. But the human experience doesn't define you. Beneath every human experience is a spiritual truth, and we are invited to feel our way to aligning ourselves with that inner sense of calm, poise, tranquility, goodness. It's all in there. Have the human experience. Relish in the situation, the challenge, the lesson, and never forget that you have within you a power that is greater than everything going on around you. So today I invite you to make a commitment to yourself to be the happiness that you are. To be happy because you know who you are and that anything outside of you is just a temporary ego thing. So commit to bringing the gift of happiness and all your spiritual gifts to the life around you. And in closing, I want to share a small writing by Robert Holden and the Happiness Project. He said, "It is because the world is so full of suffering that your happiness is a gift. It is because the world is so full of poverty that your wealth is a gift. It is because the world is so unfriendly that your smile is a gift. It is because the world is so full of war that your peace of mind is a gift. It is because the world is in such despair that your hope and optimism is a gift. It is because the world is so afraid that your love is a gift. So be the gift to the world that you are." Will you pray with me? Oh, here's what I know. What I know is that happiness is God, that joy is a natural expression of my soul because I am a part of that one power, and I know that is the truth of every person in this room and every person hearing this. It is our nature because it is our soul, and we are connected to Source always. And so I know for us this day, I know for myself this day and for every other person as well, that our path is a path of becoming more and more of who we are. Regardless of anything going on around us, we are now awakened to this idea that I am the gift in this moment. My joy is the gift in this moment. My happiness is the gift that I bring to everything around me. I am so thankful for this knowing. I'm thankful for this opportunity to teach. And I'm thankful for this rising sense of happiness that I feel in this room. I'm thankful for the laughter and everyone on this journey with me. And I affirm it by saying, and so it is. And so it is.